Hello, welcome back to another Found channel. I'm JMJ Books Corner, and today we are starting a brand new video, which is a part of my 5-book series. I switched from a 5-book series into trying to find a 5-star, and both these ended up being a somewhat of an issue because I found a lot of good books in trying to find a 5-star, but normally the genre or something I'm picking in to try to find a 5-star in, I could never actually find the lucky read. So I gave like a 4.75, a 4.5, really high numbers, but I couldn't tell you about any of the books, and those videos ended up being canceled. I've canceled so many trying to find a 5-star videos at this point. I think we're up to like 7. And I've read so many books that will never see the light of day outside of a wrap up. I'm kind of over it. I'm moving on with life. I don't want to do this anymore. And so we're switching back to the platform that originally was, which was reading 5 books of a certain thing. That's a zany genre or whatever. This was originally a trying to find a 5-star whodunit novel, and that could be from any genre, working from any type of angle. That's a slasher, that's a sci-fi murder mystery, it could be a detective as its lead, it could be just a random protagonist. It didn't really matter to me. I was just trying to find a 5-star. Now we're switching into talking about these 5 books while telling you about them as I was actually reading them. I'm just going to try to edit out the part where I'm telling you it's supposed to be a 5. We'll see how well it goes. That being said, I'm going to go through the books in the order they are, and there will be chapter times linked down below in case there's a certain book you want to talk about. Now, because this video was not done the way I would normally do a video like this, I will tell you that the reviews are not as in-depth as I would personally like, and I'm not giving you my all, because when it comes to trying to find a 5-star, somewhat of a shorter review is normally better, because I was going through like 15 books for a video at one point for this series, and so spending 10 minutes on a review every time, taxing to edit for a video that never saw the light of day. I just wanted to give you some context there as well. Alright, let's go ahead and talk about, this is why we're changing the formatting. Let's go ahead and talk about the first book, which is Wayward Werewolf, The Vampire in the Case of the Wayward Werewolf. This is the first book in like a 15 book series, and originally the idea was to find vampire PI. It's not really a genre that's been unearthed, so maybe I will one day. But right now, I'm not, and this is the first book we'll talk about. The next one we'll talk about is called He's to Die For by Aaron Dunn. This is about a detective who comes in New York, and he has to watch over this band from London because he believes someone is going to try to murder them for whatever the reason might be. Then we have No One Was Supposed to Die at This Wedding by Catherine Mack. This is the second book, and every time I go on occasion, someone dies. One of my favorite books of last year. So this was a high possibility, it was a good choice to pick. It's a murder mystery. Our main character's best friend is getting married, and we're following that journey as there is a murder at her wedding. We have Murder by Memory by Olivia Wright. This is a novel that follows a woman who can be, essentially your brains get coded into a novel, and you can re-upload them into different bodies, and she gets re-uploaded into a body that has been murdered, and she's trying to solve her own murder. Very fun, very fun. And then last we talked about is How to Survive a Slasher by Justine Paul. This is about a woman, a teenager who ends up receiving a novel called How to Survive a Slasher. Essentially, it starts to come to light, and that's what this book is about. Those are the 5 books we'll be talking about in this video. Let me know if there's any you're excited for. So once again, there are chapter times linked down below. I'll talk to you all next time, and I'll come back in for an outro. Also, because this is a murder mystery, you can expect spoilers. I'm going to be honest with you. We're going to want to talk about who the culprit is, why they chose this, why it didn't work, why it did work. There's a lot of things that goes into a murder mystery. There's a lot of angles to that. So the screen's going to turn this color unless I just simply say, here's a huge spoiler, and it's going to go on for 10 minutes, and I don't want you to look at me in black and white for 10 minutes. That's also fair. We'll see which one I go with. That being said, I did already read a book for this, so let's go ahead and talk about it. This was, I can't remember what it's called, but it's a vampire werewolf type of thing. Originally, my husband had suggested the idea of vampire detectives. Fun fact, it's an unreached market, so if anybody has a vampire detective novel that they're dying to write, guess what? This is the point in time where I recommend you do it, because there is none. I could not really find any. I found some vampire PI stuff, which I think is kind of like in the line of that, but most of them were either slayers or humans hunting vampires, or vampires did a crime and now we're trying to solve the crime. This is also kind of not what he was looking for either. There's this girl, she gets turned into a vampire. Essentially someone paid to get her turned into a vampire. She's supposed to be sold off to the highest bidder in England, like a lord or whatever. Vampires, werewolves, whole nine yards. Every creature you can think of is inside this world, and they're all pretty present inside this world as well. It's pretty well known. She ends up fleeing the country and going to Alaska, where she believes that she'll be safe and no one will notice her or anything, and she ends up getting a job with the local town police department where there was a murder, and so they are solving solving a murder throughout the entire story, while also going on all these different journeys. One of the things, how she got turned, she was like on a date. They ended up like drugging her and stuff, and so she's like really apprehensive to dating. So there's some stuff in here about dating that I just didn't feel really comfortable to me, that I didn't really necessarily agree with. Also, there's like so many people. She's definitely the trope of I'm the prettiest one in the group. So everybody fuck me, type of thing. And so I also got kind of tired, so I don't need every guy thirsty for you. But I felt like the case was pretty nice and easy to solve. Nothing really dramatic happened. I think it all went in direct pathways. I felt the writing was a little lackluster in some areas, but worked in others. I also wasn't expecting it to be British, so the whole British thing sometimes works, and I think it kind of worked here. It didn't fully work for me though. I think the author's British though, because like slang was strong. That being said, I gave it a 3.75. The next one I'm going to be reading, I don't know yet. I have a few in mind, so I'll keep you posted. So I started another book for this video, and I wasn't really sure if I was going to add it or not, but I felt like I was cheating if I didn't. Now we're reading a most anticipated read of mine, which is a murder mystery. And then we're going to jump into another murder mystery right afterwards, because I was going to read a different book, but they have such a similar writing style that I don't think it's going to work for me. So I think I'm going to have to take a little break in between these two particular novels. Either way, let's talk about the one that we're supposed to be. And that is, someone's supposed to die. No one's supposed to die at this wedding. The second book in the Catherine Mack traveling mystery series. I can't remember exactly what it's called. I loved the first one last year. It was like one of my all-time favorites of last year. Really high up on that list. I kind of want to go to Barnes & Noble and buy both books. I have a feeling I probably will do that this weekend, because like I want them in my presence. So why not go get them in my presence? Except it's like $50, you know what I mean? So maybe not. I don't know. I'll have to think about it. But that being said, I'm so excited for this release. This is a sequel, so there are, I'll try to dance around some of the subject matter. They do cover it up pretty quickly. So Catherine Mack is bringing everybody up to speed, just in case you didn't read the first one. But this book takes place on the movie set of the book that was having the 10-year anniversary for the first book. So we have her best friend who's playing her in this movie, and then like a really famous actor playing the guy who ends up being like an asshole in the first book. That's kind of like the catalyst for the whole reason for a lot of the events that partake. And then we learn really early on, like in the prologue, that she ends up finding someone dead at this wedding with some, like they were stabbed to death. And the knife is still there, and she believes, because she's the only person who can, is to solve this murder. I'm about 26% into it, and I'm like fucking obsessed. I think it's beautiful. I think it's perfect. I don't know if it's gonna be a 5, because if it is, so far it screams as a guilty 5, which to me just means it's not like a direct, like it wasn't like oh my god, a little life 5, where it's like earth shattering. I don't even know what to do with my life. This is probably me more on the lines of like a very light 5. So I could see myself maybe pushing it more for a 4.75, just because it's like on that cusp. So we'll see where it ends up landing. I'll be listening to more of it today. I wouldn't be surprised if I finish it today. Basically, the premise of the plot, everybody from the first book are all back, our main characters, and are a part of this journey. We actually also know as the book begins that her best friend, Emily, who is Amelia, I think is what it actually is, playing her in the movie, is getting death threats and has a whole Twitter account trying to tell her she's horrible and that she shouldn't have been cast and she's up to the director and all this other stuff. And this is her wedding. And so obviously a lot of people believe that she will be the one. We don't know who is dead on the floor either, but this is very tongue-in-cheek type of writing style. One of my favorites. I'll see you guys very soon. Hello, let me come in here and update you guys on this video. So I did finish the No One's Supposed to Die at a Wedding book. I gave it a 4.5. I feel like the mystery was quite good. I had guessed the murderer. It was pretty much towards the end of the book, so I will get props. However, there was something about this one that felt very different from the first one. I feel like it wasn't so tongue-in-the-cheek as well. The main character wasn't very much talking to us, which I feel was really lacking. I don't know, in my personal opinion. I like the idea of it being on a movie set, which is the gimmick here, instead of a book tour, which is the gimmick of the first one. And I am excited to see where the next one takes us. It was announced at the end of this book that there will be a sequel, and I will definitely pick it up for sure. Due to this one being a 4.5 and the first one being a 5, I don't see myself moving this up to a 5-star prediction video. If this was a 5, then I definitely move the next one up to a 5-star prediction. So I have started my next one, which is called Restraint. I don't know. I'll put it on the cover. Something him, I think. And it's New York, I think. No, it's out June 6th, I think. So by the time this video is out, it's definitely available to you guys. I am immediately okay. I'm like okay with it. We follow a police detective in New York who is from London. He moves to New York for reasons, and he ends up getting assigned a case where a pretty high-class manager for several different singing bands ends up murdered point blank in the head. Full on, Due to this character being killed in such a violent way, they have a few different theories, and one of those is a pretty high-profile band member of a pretty high-profile boy group in this world, and the main character that is the love interest for him, his little, crutch. And the story's going in several different interesting directions. I don't personally know if I could point who did the murderings, as at this point in the story, 60-something% in, several have died, and also several, like 2 or 3 have been injured as well. It's very more action-packed, very fast. I read the first 70% while I read it today at work. I will update you guys tonight. Right now, it's feeling anywhere between a 3.5 and a 3.75. I would highly doubt that it's going to get any boosted higher than that. It does have charm offensive vibes. However, the pitch to get me to read it was not nearly as strong as the book that actually is being told to me. That's what I have for you. I'll update you when I finish the book. I think he died for this or something. I died for I don't remember. Something along those lines. It was not. It was a 3.5. It was a 3.5 the entire time. I guess who the person was the entire time. There's some elements of it that were pretty cool and worked, but it didn't really fully do it for me. That's all I got for you. I don't have any spoilers or anything either. I don't really think there's anything to spoil. The book should be out by now. It was an e-arc. The next one moving on to is a novella sci-fi story. So we'll see how that goes. I'm a little nervous that novella is not going to hit the right tone for me. Normally I want some time to build with a case. If the case is even solved in this video or in this book, and does that mean it counts or does it not count? I don't know. But that's kind of where we're at in the regard. So I'll update you probably when I read the whole thing, and I'll come back and I'll talk about the whole thing, is my best guess. It's murder by something. I don't remember what. Okay, I finished the next book for this video, which is Murder by Memory, the one I told you about, the sci-fi one. Apparently I have another one coming up, which is also like a murder mystery. I'm not 100% sure. I'll let you know as we progress. Also, I think I put out like a hold on a few as well. They're kind of coming out of nowhere, so we'll see. I'm just taking it as it is. Genre or whatever it might be, we're just going with it. They don't need to be cozy mysteries or anything. They just need murder mysteries, you know what I mean? And this was a sci-fi one, very cozy sci-fi murder mystery about a woman who is a sleuth, a PI. And she ends up being wiped and put into another person's body, and she's trying to solve the murder with that body, which is super fun. Essentially, it's a world where there's a huge library, and you can wipe your memories into a bank, a library bank, a book of sorts, and a book, really. And then you can get transported into a new body, live a whole new life, having some of those memories so you can continue on with your last life, and doing this for over and over and over again for centuries and things. It's such a cool concept, and it's such a cool idea, and the book itself as well, very well executed. However, it's a bit too short on my liking, so there wasn't enough time to really draw out the mystery. Very small, very close case, but it worked for the story itself. I think I'm landing on like a 4 for this, and I would recommend it though. I think it's quite good. I think it could be a 5 and a brand new. I could definitely read the sequel for sure when it comes out next year. It'll probably be my 26 and 26. Enjoyed myself. Read a whole one today and I could update you, but I kind of forgot that a slasher counts as a murder mystery, because it's not something I personally would put in this category for some reason in my head. I just don't think about it. But I was trying to solve a murder the whole time, so. And I never said it had to be like a closed door mystery either, where it's like a single person dies. It could be like a whole cast of character dies. It doesn't really matter. I'm just trying to find one that I like. This was super close to a 5. This was a 4.25. So that's How to Survive a Slasher by Justine Priscilla Wyans. It does seem like this author has several other books under the repertoire. I don't know if I love the writing super much, but I did love the really connected queer characters. There's a whole spectrum of different characters in this novel, which I adored. And I loved the relationships, and I loved the fact that it wasn't very homophobic, and that wasn't the point of it. I also absolutely, because I read so many books here really where they're like, oh, someone died, and obviously it has to be this group of kids that did it, and now the cops are after them for whatever reason, and then they're like trying to search for clues, but also trying to run away from cops. And in this novel, like most slashers, if you did not know, there's every once in a while there's a slasher where the cops are like, I think you killed them, and it normally has other motives and stuff. But in this one in particular, it didn't happen that way. The cops were very background characters. That was a key element that I didn't know I wanted in a slasher that I loved. I have to wonder if that's what Stephen Graham Jones did also. I know in parts of that trilogy, our main character was on both sides of the law, so I have to wonder if that's also maybe what I took away from that as well. I don't know. But that being said, I couldn't guess the killer. I couldn't guess the reveal, which was great. I do think if you put a little time and effort into it, you probably could. But to be honest with you, I've gotten to a point when reading to be able to enjoy material like this that I just kind of don't put the effort in. I'll clock a character if I find them very sus. I'd be like, oh, you give me bad vibes. I feel like you could be a part of it in whatever shape or form. But that's the extent of me sussing somebody out. And that's not the point here. Like, I will enjoy a novel much more if I'm doing it the way I'm doing it, but I do think it would have hurt my experience because, like, part of the fun part about a slasher is a reveal. So that's the other thing, is that this is a YA slasher, and normally these books tend to run more into the magical realism side of things, supernatural elements where they took Scooby-Doo for real. And this book, all I will say is I was pleasantly surprised with the directions that the author did decide to take it with, and so I'm a big fan. Also, this has like a weird little book and book type of thing, and I really enjoyed that experience as well. The killings were nice, and that's not really what we're rating this on, but like they were enjoyable to read from, and the third act was very quick, but it was fun nonetheless. I would recommend. It was a 4.25. All right, those are the 5 books. I know, and they were 5 stars. Who's shocked? Not me. There's like 4 books that I cut out from this video, if it gives you any clue how badly this was going. It was not going well. I do realize I do end up picking up like a lot of these. I like a whodunit slasher, like the concept of it, so I am more acceptable in reading them even if they're poor in the reading skills. But none of these rank horribly rated from what I remember. I think He's to Die For, I think, was the lowest rated one, right? And then I want to say How to Survive a Slasher. No one's supposed to die at this wedding, which was disappointing. And we'll probably go into that superlative at the end of the year. I think they're both equally around 4s, and Vampire and Murder, I think, were 3s, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. This video spanned 4 months, and I'm hoping that the next one will not. But the next one, once again, we're changing a lot of things about it, so hopefully it will be fun. That being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments down below. Have you ever read a 5-star whodunit? And if so, please recommend them in the comments down below. Alright, I'll talk to you next time. Thanks for watching.